Hello and welcome to this section of Unit 2 Passages by Frank Rodriguez. The topic of the unit is mistakes and mysteries. So, before we begin, let's explore what a mistake and a mystery are. Okay, definition one: an act or judgment that is misguided or wrong. For example, a person to think he sees his brother when it's actually a stranger. So sometimes you're walking down the street and you say, "Oh, I know that person," and when you get closer, it's not really the person you were looking for, or you thought it was. Hasn't it happened to you? It has happened to me many times. So for the example number two, I made a big mistake. I added salt instead of sugar. Now we can't drink that juice. So by mistake, the person added salt, thinking that it was sugar, and now the beverage is salty. And who would like to drink a salty juice? For the definition number two of mastery, something that is difficult or impossible to understand or explain. So when you don't have the, you don't know why something happened, and it's impossible to understand it or explain it. So for the example number one, the mystery was solved when the police discovered the murder weapon. So not until they discovered the murder weapon was that they found who the murderer was. So it was unknown before they found the weapon. It was impossible to explain how the murder happened. For the number two, it's a complete mystery that she married him. So there are different possibilities to this one because we don't know we don't know what happened, why that happened, and we don't know how to explain it because we don't know why. So that's a reason why it's a complete mystery why she married him. We can just like make assumptions like maybe she married him because he is rich and he wanted money and she wanted money, or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe she fell in love with him because he had money, or I don't know. So it's impossible for us to understand why she married him. For before we move forward, people would like to share with you our objective. We're going to be by the end of this lesson, we will make a short composition on how to deal with your problems, including 6 to 8 target phrases. Let's discuss. Have you ever had a problem you did not know how to deal with? Or do you usually help people with their problems? So tell us about you. Do you ever help people when they have problems? And have you ever had a problem that it was impossible for you to come up with a solution? Vocabulary practice. So the vocabulary we're going to be using here, it's usually used with problems. Aggravate, avoid, cause, deal with, identify, ignore, run into, solve. So for this for with these words, like we said before, we usually use we usually use them with problems. So here we have, we can aggravate a problem, we can avoid a problem, we can cause a problem, we can deal with a problem, we can identify a problem, we can ignore a problem, we can run into a problem, or we can solve a problem. Now, do you want to know their definitions? Here we go. Aggravate is to make a situation worse. So, you have a situation and you make that situation worse. For example, Carlos always aggravates his problems. He does not have enough money, and he constantly buys unnecessary items. What is the problem of Carlos? That he doesn't have money. And how does he aggravate his problem? He buys unnecessary items. Avoid. To stay away from something, in this case, or someone. When you stay away from someone, uh, when you're trying to avoid a person, you don't want to talk to that person, you don't want to see that person for any reason. So to stay away from something, in this case, problems. For example, Manuel cooks carefully to avoid problems when he is in the kitchen. So, what type of problems can he get if he's in the kitchen? Maybe he can cause an explosion, or maybe he can get burned. But Manuel is usually trying to avoid those problems or any other problem. Cause to make something happen, especially something bad, it might be a result. So we have an example right here. Albert is a kind of kid who always causes problems to his parents. So to make something happen, what is that Albert is causing? Is he is making happen problems to his parents? Maybe he's always fighting in school with his friends or any other problem, or maybe he is running into neighbors' gardens without permission. Deal with. To take action in order to solve a problem, to face a problem. So when you deal with a problem, you do not ignore the problem and you take action. Michael is always dealing with his problem. He never ignores them. So there are people that tend to ignore problems, and there are other people that it's always dealing with the problems to try to solve the problem. Identify, to recognize something, in this case, a problem. For example, Arlene can easily look at your computer and identify what the problem is. She is an expert with technology. Um, because she's an expert with technology, when she sees your computer with problems, she can recognize, she can identify what the problem is and give a solution to it more easily. Ignore, to intentionally not listen or give attention to. For example, Julio always ignores his problems. His car is damaged, but he never fixes it. He does have money. The point is that he never does anything about his problems. So when a person ignores his or her problems, that person is intentionally not listening or giving attention to the problems. So it's not like, oh, I am forgetful. I never like I am not able to listen or pay attention to my problems, but is that that person makes a decision to not listen or give attention to his or her problems, and therefore more problems can be triggered, like you have to pay the bills, and or you don't have a job and you have to pay the bills, and like you don't worry about trying to get another job, the situation is going to get worse. So that usually happens when you ignore your problems. if you run into a problem, you begin to experience it. We have an example. Maria is always running into problems. It is like if she attracts her problems. Uh, for this one, uh, you can even not really start to experience the problem. You can even like try to you're trying to solve a problem, and because you're trying to solve that problem, you're getting into another problem, which is even worse. Solve, to find an answer to a problem, find a solution to a problem, to fix a problem. For example, a school principal always have to solve students' problems. For sure, they usually solve students' problems when they go to the office. Also, a lawyer solves people's problems. A computer programmer solves computer problems as well. Now, let's substitute the word. You have to use the words that we have already discussed. And please stop the video and try to substitute the words or phrases in green with the words at the top. Now we have the answers. Don't get down if you didn't get them right. Now try to go back and try to review the definitions again. If possible, try writing some sentences that is going to help you out with memorizing the words or phrases better. Let's analyze the situation. Carla is a very smart person. She is very well organized. She never has difficult problems, or said in a different words, she is very positive with problems. So, what can you say about Carla? If she's always very smart, she doesn't have a negative mind around problems. So, what can you say about her? Does she ignore problems? Does she deal with problems? Does she look like a person that usually ignores problems? Please explain. Let's analyze this. This is Carlos. He usually has a lot of problems, or at least that is what he says. He has a lot of paperwork in the office, and he is never working. But he's always telling everybody that he has a lot of problems and a lot of work. The last week, his boss came to his office and saw all the paperwork on the desk. So, what can you tell about Carlos? Does he look like a person that likes to deal with problems? Does he deal with problems? Does he ignore problems? What can you say about Carlos? What can we say about you? Are you more similar to Carlos or Carla? Finally, we want to know about you. You're going to write a short composition using a list, sets of the words presented. You will need to talk about your life around problems. Here are some questions that are going to help you out write your composition. Are you good at solving problems? When was the last time you ran into a problem? Do you usually ignore problems? What has been the worst problem you have run into? How did you solve it? Thanks for watching.